Yo, what's up, guys? I woke up and I saw this dev preview. So this always does excite me a little bit. It is not the dev notice that they had before of already saying like, yo, we have this and it's going to be implemented in a bit. But it pretty much says like, what are we working on? And what are we working on? It's always a very important topic because currently we had the 11th anniversary event. Currently, we kind of have like a leftover anniversary event-ish with just a bunch of recycled events where with that one guildie that always gets that 35 speed from the crafting event will still get that 35 crafting speed or the 35 speed from the crafting event. I was actually talking to some people. What do you guys think? Intangible rune, 24 speed or 24 crit rate or 32 accuracy? And you can choose on which one it is. Would that be an event that makes everyone happy? Or would that be an event that you think is too broken? Or do you like the current +6 event a lot more? Because personally, I'm kind of done with this Seki event that is +6 and then some people are gonna get the 18 and other people are gonna get the 30 and there's no in-betweener. But besides the point that there are some decent scrolls in this current event, so you do get a bunch of like free summons and that kind of stuff. But let's see what we're working on with the developer preview. So developer preview is going to be talking about monster storage and sealed shrine improvements and world arena rune load and save. Okay. I was expecting a little bit more, but sure, happy about this. It's the last one. Okay. 11th anniversary. Yep, sure. Free summon. Like select your own pulls that you're never gonna get because it's legit like a 10% rate. So you have to pull, if you want to pull the LD5 of choice, well, if you want to pull the LD5 of specific choice, let's say you only want to get a Ragdoll or only want to get a Gianna, you have to pull 20 LD5s to be on average rates to get your Gianna on rate. Which kind of, yeah, some people will get there, some people will not, I guess. So, yeah. We will continue doing our best to make more exciting and rewarding content. Okay, more exciting content. I'm looking forward to that. It's been a while. COA was the last thing that we had as exciting content. Yeah, COA. Yeah, okay. Let's dive into the topic. Monster storage and sealed shrine improvements. Okay. That is the storage that, for the people don't really know who that is the storage, I think, over here. That is the sealed shrine, right? Yep. And that is also the one where you can store units that if they don't have any rune, you can still store like skilled up units and that kind of stuff over there. So in the end, definitely a pretty useful storage right there. So let's see what they're going to be doing with that. So they changed the UI that you can go, okay, so you don't have to go in and out to actually access that. Helps a little bit. Yeah, that's the one that they said, like, without any runes or artifacts put on those units. That definitely helps out a bit. I do know some people that are just saying, like, dude, can we not get more than 800 in our storage? Because people are just overstacking the storage if they have, like, I don't know how many siege dupes. But I think with this one, you can kind of start storing siege dupes over there, if I did read it correctly early when I just woke up. So currently only withdraw, okay, yep, and yeah, so you actually have to take them out to use them because this is the only storage you cannot actually use things from. So your normal storage where you have max 800, you can use things from, but in there you can't actually do that. Currently, to use a unit from the normal storage in battle, you have to take them out of the shrine, and yep, and then you have to put the runes and artifacts on them. It's not the most convenient, okay. So we're increasing the accessibility for the monsters in the sealed shrine, and we plan to add the sealed shrine tab under the monster storage implementation. Okay, so what does that mean? So this is your normal siege battle. You go to the storage, but within your storage now you also have the sealed shrine. Sealed shrine does mean that you store all of your units that are normally max leveled or whatever leveled, but they don't have any runes or artifacts on them. But the thing is, what you can do over here is then you can give them a temporary rune set from what I've seen. So you can give them a temporary engrave icon. So you can use a unit that is in the storage that is ungeared guaranteed or unruned guaranteed. And then you can give them like a whole set from something else. That is an option in there. And then you can select this from something else. I think it's definitely for the people that play a lot of Siege and they have a shit ton of Siege duplicates, that they don't have to pull out individual Siege duplicates and that kind of stuff. They can use Siege duplicates from the Sealed Shrine without having to have them ruined ever. That is kind of chill, I guess. That's definitely something where I would say it helps out the Siege players a bit. Okay. So it does also, I think it does also mention that it does cost you something. Well, if you do it in Siege, I think it costs you nothing. So yeah, in this feature we have asynchronous PvP content such as Siege, Arena, and Inter-Server Battle. To be honest, for Arena and Inter-Server Battle, you're not going to be using this. I think it's just Siege related, to be honest. We are planning to gradually expand other content like TOA, Labyrinth, and okay. I'm not sure, like, this is where they're going to implement the temporary engrave, but to be honest, I don't really... Labyrinth, I could kind of see, but to be honest, don't you have, like, all of your Labyrinth teams set up so you can go in without reruning? TOA, I could kind of see TOA, because mostly TOA you just do on the fly. It's like, okay, I'm gonna be doing TOA for the TOA Hell, I'm gonna re-gear that, or rerune that, and then I would just set everything back after. But I would say this mainly makes sense for Siege duplicates, because otherwise you're not going to be using that many units and you would be fine on the normal storage. During the battle, the original units artifacts will be considered unequipped. That does make a lot of sense. Otherwise, it would stay on the defense or something like that. That would be pretty broken. Would have actually been nice if that was the case, because now you still have a lot of the times the issues where your defense is unruled because you're using your defense faster set on an offense, and then they hit you and it was like, oh yeah, your Lionel or Ezio or whatever was not taking a turn because it was super slow. They also will stay on the original monster if you don't have the right type or artifacts, or like the elemental, sure. After battle, they will return to the original monster, and okay, that is kind of, that actually makes it 100% just Siege. Like, because in Siege you do like a one-time battle with a one-turn thing, and then that's fine. But in Arena, I'm not going to be reruning a whole unit to do one Arena battle, and then it's set back right away. Like, that's not the case. That's just weird. Also, this is kind of weird, because switching runes in Siege right now costs you nothing. This is only made for Siege. Will this cost you 300,000 for Siege? Because then it's pretty much using or losing its value once again. Because, yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, that's, I would say, good for Siege that they're going to implement it in the others. I don't really see the value of it. Maybe inter-server arena battle, because that's where you just do one particular hit and then you don't have to use it on the next time. But then again, I think most of the time arena and inter-server battle arena, you do that in sequence, so you do everything at a go and you can use the units multiple times. And the only reason you need this in Siege is because you cannot use the units multiple times. So not really sure about that, but let's see what they further have on. You'll also be able to mark and lock units in the Sealed Shrine. Does make sense. Yeah, before I think if you lock the unit, you couldn't put it in the Sealed Shrine, so I guess now you can do. World Arena, rune saving and loading expansion. World Arena has a wide variety of modes, such as 2v2 and 4-star battles. Yeah, once every blue moon, but sure. To be supporting those various setups more, we have an additional save and load for all monsters functional provided. Okay, personally, I kind of like this. But I won't be using it as much for 2v2 or 4-star battles. I will be using it more for, hey, a balance patch happened. I want to switch a whole bunch of things and make a save state of like, okay, this was my pre-balance patch save state that I know kind of works. And then I can do a post-balance patch save state of maybe like tweaking things a little bit around, but at least I can make a save state where I can kind of fall back to. It's like, okay, this is my post-balance patch save state. But if I want to tweak things and then be like, oh, the tweaks didn't really work that well, I can go back to that. And if I feel like nothing really works, I can go back to my pre-balance patch save state. I think I will be using it for something like that. But besides that, it is nice. It's nothing too crazy. Then we also have the mentor level requirement raised to level 100. Yeah, that totally makes sense, because the max level is 50 since, I think, 2-3 years already right now. Now, probably 2. And they, yeah, at some point you lose your mentor thing. But then again, the whole mentor thing doesn't matter as much. So that wraps it up. Oh. Really? This all? we hope to improve more freedom and convenience for managing your units. Yeah, sure, we're working hard to prepare for late June, so this is going to be the patch in 2 weeks, I guess. We'll share additional implementation screenshots with follow-up notice. Okay. More fun and engaging. Yeah, well, this... It kind of disappoints me. Like, dev previews are kind of them saying, like, yo, this is what we're working on. And if you're saying, like, we're working on quality of life updates, that is pretty much, Like, if we get this as an update, like just a normal update, we would say like, ah, that's a filler update. But now you say it's like, hey, this is the big thing we're working on. It's like, oh, the big thing you're working on is a freaking filler update. So that's kind of disappointing for me. Like, I don't know, the last few updates, sure, the quality of life things are nice. They're all helpful and stuff. But this is not something where I would say is like, yo, you put like a whole development team on and hours, and you have multiple meetings to talk about, and you have the next best thing, and you're creating the next thing, such as artifacts or big improvements, or you're doing like a good overhaul change to RTA where you add in like pre-ban before RTA, or you do like weird shit like other games do where you have the third slot in RTA is a ban protected, or you start adding in things like a testing scenario where you have like a screen where you can test all your artifacts and that kind of stuff, so you can see how much damage improvement a crit damage 3 does, or a crit damage more, crit damage own, or something like that, or your highest additional damage artifact. Something like those kind of things is more than what I would be saying is like, yo, now we're talking. Or maybe a complete overhaul to COA, that COA is actually doable and not an RNG fuckfest to actually clear in the first place. Maybe an overhaul to RTA, where RTA actually has fair, balanced RNG and people start enjoying playing this in the first place. Or maybe even give like extra things such as like energy in this shop, so people that do want to invest a lot of time in playing Arena and RTA do actually have some way to actually play the game more by simply just having more resources to play or something like that. These are the kind of things that I'm like, yo, this is cool. Like, to be honest, I think a lot of people are gonna hate me for this one, because the moment artifacts were released, artifacts was the big thing that people were like, I don't understand it, blah, blah, blah. But then if you make this overall where you can actually have other artifacts understandable, would be nice. But to be honest, give me a freaking 7th rune to farm for or something. I don't mind that. It's the same thing with, like, they added at some point the intangible rune. I'm like, ooh, intangible rune, that's really cool. Can I tell you, legit on my main, on RTA, I use 0 intangible runes. I farmed the living shit out of everything for the last year and a half, 2 years. I don't know how long intangible rune has been there. I use 0 intangible runes in RTA. Why? Because you simply don't get any good ones in that. You have to be incredibly lucky. The drop rate is super low. And yeah, that's just the thing. Like, throughout the last year, the only hypes we have seen are collabs. And collabs means packs. And it's just more of that. So yeah, they do mention like we're working hard towards make more exciting and rewarding content. Well, I would say events are rewarding. You do get a fair amount of good stuff from the events, but bringing you more exciting content, is packs more exciting content? Is collabs more exciting content? Collabs equals more units, but most of those more units are kind of bad on release anyways. They did kind of do it better with the newest collab, where you did have a bunch of units that were good on release, which I did actually like. But then again, it's still kind of the same issue where I'm like, yeah, sure, this one was good on release, but still half of the pile is bad. If we go back further down the line, how many LDs are still bad? Their balance patches are mediocre to say the most about. So I definitely do think that Com2us really has to step up their game, because if this is like, yo, we're working on dev previews and we have cool shit, and your cool shit is you can place runes on something temporarily for Siege, and you can have a bigger storage on that, and that's it, then I think you're doing a really mediocre job. And that's me just being honest about that. I think they're really just doing a mediocre job about this whole dev preview, saying like, yo, like, sure, it's good that they're communicating what they're working on, but if you're working on absolutely nothing, then you might as well not tell me. I'm kind of on that point by now. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it. Maybe I'm being too harsh on them, I don't know, but to be honest, I feel like this game needs a proper change in something of a direction that just puts a little bit fire into the game, puts a little bit of like, yo, excitement into the game. Like, yo, this is changing. We're doing big stuff. We're making Siege for a whole season 1v1 rather than a 1v1v1, just to change something up. Give it a new vibe, give it a new look, do something new, rather than it's like, yeah, we have a bunch of quality of life things and we're too scared to make any changes because otherwise people might walk away. Well, now people are kind of walking away because nothing is happening. But that's my opinion. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this one. That's all for me for today. I was hoping a little bit more. The moment I saw the dev preview, I'm like, yeah. And then I read it and I was like, yeah. So yeah, that's about it. I do have a whole bunch of summons. I did count yesterday. I have about the worth of 110 LDs on my main account. I'll probably be summoning it somewhere, I think early next week. Yeah, I think early next week, but I'll let you know on the Discord when that is going to be exactly, if you do want to follow for that. Which is only going to be the premium scrolls, because I think I'll be saving the mystical scrolls until we get the 10+1 for the next collab or event or whatever is coming. Last year, the collab in the end of the year was announced at the end of July. So maybe around that time this year, so in a month and a half, would we get a collab? I don't know. Could be something month and a half, maybe a little bit more, 2 months. August, around that time, mostly was a collab. So let's see if something is happening around that time. Well, guys, that's all from me for now. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Like this video. You know where to find me. And see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.